Kindy Rockstars. Prepare for a treat, let's meet and greet some bands and singers that are super sweet, making music that's fun for boys and girls. Help them learn about this great big world. Fun for the family, yes it's true, your kids will love it and you will too. Clap and dance and sing aloud, become a part of the Kindy crowd. These songs will make you move your feet and give your ears a great big treat. So settle in, grab your guitars, and let's get to know our Kindy rock stars. Hello everyone, and welcome to Kindy Rockstars. This is the show that gives you the stories behind the songs from some of the best bands and singers that are making fun, informative, educational, catchy, and occasionally silly songs for children and families. I'm your host, Patrick Adams, and each episode of Kindy Rockstars will feature an artist and a featured song. So let's get to this week's show. My guest today is Esther Crow. Welcome to the show, Esther.
Hello, Patrick. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your music, your puppets.
Cool. How long do you have? Well, let's see. I have been making music now, recording music for, let's see. I guess I really started recording music around 2009, 8 with my band called The Electric Mess, which I like to call my adult band, but then somebody got confused when I used that expression lately. So my band for adults, let's say. But it's a rock and roll band that I put together with my husband, and we have 5 albums, and it's a lot of fun. We've toured Europe, we've toured a little bit of the United States, but Europe 3 times. And we started as a cover band, but then started writing our own material. So yeah, we have 5 albums. The last one we put out last year. And when my husband and I had our son Vincent in 2013, I simultaneous to The Electric Mess, I don't know if I said the name of the band, that's the band that my husband and I have together. Which is basically just basic rock and roll, garage rock, psychedelic. So in 2013, right after the birth of our son Vincent, I also had a new wave project. I'm kind of all over the place. I always want to do it all, but of course, there's not enough time. I know a lot of people are like that. So I had Vincent and started listening to a lot of kids' music that was already out there. And that was sort of my introduction to a lot of the great artists, who were already making music, like Dog on Fleas and Dan Zanes, Joni Leeds, Shine and the Moonbeams, all of that. And started realizing, hey, wait a minute, maybe I should try writing some songs for kids. And I know also I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of Kindy artists, we're making music for more of an adult audience. And then when, a lot of other people like me had kids of their own, that's what inspired them. So my story is not unique perhaps, but that's what I started to do. And because I had been playing music in the New York City music scene for already quite a while, about a decade, or a little bit more than that, I knew a lot of musicians here. So I was able to pull together a band that I named Thunder and Sunshine. And I was very determined to make sure that we had enough female representation. So I wanted us to be a band that had 3 female vocalists that would share leads and harmonize and all of that. So the band I put together, Thunder and Sunshine, had 3 women and 3 men, very balanced. And I wrote the songs for a full album, and we had a few really fun, exciting shows. Our debut gig was at Joe's Pub which is a great club down on Lafayette Street here in Lower Manhattan. And played, Hippo Playground, Union Square. It was a lot of fun. But it's a 6-person band, and that's huge. So interrupt me whenever you want, because I can go on all day. So if I'm saying too much about any one thing, please don't be shy.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm just trying to take you down the path. So that was in 2017 when we released our debut album. And then we subsequently had, a year or 2 or 3 of some fun shows around New York City. Simultaneously to that, I was starting to do some solo stuff, just because it was easier. And I had, a local bookstore here, Bank Street Bookstore, that I used to take my son to all the time for their story hour. So I asked them if I could be a guest story hour person and read books and do my music. So that was a regular thing. That was almost like, I really could be here all day, because that was like my stand-up comedy days. I mean, I have a whole world before I even really got serious about music, but I have an acting and comedy background. So doing the bookstore gigs and also doing, sometimes I would just do park shows on my own, which I still do. It's almost like a stand-up open mic, if you will, because you can test material that way. So it was great. It was, a nice little exercise for me. And then I started writing songs, and I picked up the guitar and started getting serious about guitar playing, maybe about 5-6 years ago. And then I started writing songs on the guitar. Instead of just going into my iPhone and hitting the voice memos and going la da 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 da, I was actually working out some chords. And then I started writing songs that would eventually go on my debut solo album, which I released in June. So that's sort of the trajectory. But COVID also, of course, you can't talk about things these days without mentioning COVID. That was another thing that really led me to recording an album last year, because I had almost enough songs. I just needed to write a couple of more, and, to sort of flesh out a full album. And so I decided, and this is just going to be easier right now, because getting a 6-person band together, especially for any in-person gigs, which weren't happening anyway, was impossible. So I started doing more virtual stuff and, more stuff outdoors in the park, and then finishing that album.
Very good. Yeah, I think a lot of people I've talked to really pulled things together during the time of lockdown. It's me personally, that's when I did almost my entire album, just because of the time that you had to pull it all together.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the puppets. I couldn't help but notice as I was looking into your stuff, how prevalent they were. So they're part of your show, and how do you integrate them?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is how I started using them for my solo act, if you will, was almost accidental. The puppets, I had the artist that I was working with at the time of the Thunder and Sunshine album and shows that we did, Jeff Lewanzik. He made a bunch of really great slides for a show that we did at Joe's Pub, and other props. And the puppets were just one of, they were a set of props amongst a lot of other props. But I think I had the idea to do the puppets for a specific song called Hoo Hoo Hoo, which is on Thunder and Sunshine's album, which is about an owl and a bunch of other animals. And so I had asked Jeff to make, I said, what could be easiest? And I think he thought of the paper bag idea and said that he could make, there's 7 animals in the song, so 7 puppets, for one of the other singers, Sunny Beam, and I to sort of pick up a puppet during that puppet's verse and do the sound, hoo hoo, moo moo moo, there's a cow, there's a bunch of animals. And so there were 7 of them. And when I started doing my little bookstore gigs and park gigs on my own in the early days of that, I started giving some of them personalities. And it was a lot of fun for me because, as a character actor, I have that in my background. I love doing different accents and personalities. So it was my way to sort of infuse some comedy and acting by using these puppets. And so 5 of the 7 really got fleshed out. And what's funny is my son Vincent gives me guilt trips sometimes. He's always like, "What about the horse and the mouse? Why don't you ever use them?" I said, "Well, I can't use all of them. 5 is enough." And 5 just felt like a good number. And I don't know, you've probably seen my promo photo where I have the 5 around me. 5 is just a good number. It's a manageable number.
Mm-hmm.
But then he gets on me sometimes because I use Bernie the bee and Moonice the cow and Oliver Owl more than I use Debbie the duck and Frederica Frog, so I'm trying to be equitable, but it's hard.
So if I know somebody that has a kid, 4, 5, 6, 7, I always ask this: do you have him be part of the songs that you create?
Vincent, I did. He was on the album, not only vocally in It's So Easy Being Green. He's the other vocalist. It's a call and response song. But he does lend some vocals here and there, just sound effects like on Wattle Duck. I think he does some quacking sounds. He's also a very good musician himself. So he did a little bit of percussion, not drums so much. Now I can't even remember the name of the instrument. But Dean Jones, the producer, has such a wonderful studio with all sorts of different, unique, wonderful instruments from around the world. And he was so great. He just, because Vincent was with us, he knew that he had to be distracted. So he would often give him an instrument to play with, like keyboard, and put on the headphones so he wouldn't disturb us. But at other times he incorporated him. And he played, it wasn't a xylophone, but it was one of those type of percussive instruments that has melody also. And so he played something on Wattle Duck and some other things. So yeah, he was definitely a part of the recording. So was my husband. And also the very nice thing is that the 3 of us started playing together during the shutdown because we're just here in the apartment and there's a lot of instruments and we couldn't get together with any outside musicians. So we were kind of stuck together. But in a way, when we weren't tearing each other apart, how that can go. We would make music and we would have fun together. And Vincent ended up picking up. He's a violinist. He's practicing violin or taking violin lessons formally at his school. But if you know anything about string instruments, like my husband had years of violin and then was able to easily pick up the guitar and sort of teach himself. So Vincent, we have all these instruments because of my husband, like a banjo, mandolin. He was picking up all of these different instruments, and mandolin he got quite good at. So now as a threesome, we often play, they supported me on a couple of shows this summer where Dan, my husband, who primarily plays guitar, played bass. I played guitar, and then Vincent played mandolin. And then on one song, he plays percussion. He's a very good percussionist too. So he loves drums. So yeah, it was really good for, not that I want to go back and to last year. It was very hard, but some good things came out of it,
That's true. Very true. So, and the song we're going to talk about today, Bees, Beavers, and Bats. I'm just curious about the theme of your children's music. Do you focus on animals, or what's your preferred topics?
I will say, so a lot of the songs on my album, I'm going to say about half. So there's 9 songs in total. Some songs, like Wattle Duck, Johnny the Cat, I had been doing for quite a while. And I don't even really think, as I said before, I wasn't even really focused that much on recording or making an album until I realized, well, we have some time here on our hands and I do have almost enough songs for an album. So I had a number of these playful songs about animals. And I thought, I'd like to have some educational songs about animals for a little bit, maybe of an older age group. I wanted an album, and I know some people say not to do this. Some people say you should have an album that's really just for this age group, 2 to 5, or 0 to 5, or, and then like 4 to 8. But I kind of went against that and thought, why don't I have something that's sort of for the whole family? I even put some inside jokes there with my puppet interstitials for the adults. So the puppets are a part of the album too, I'm sure you know. And for Bees, Beavers, and Bats, yes, that was one of the last songs that I wrote, because I had these playful animal songs, and then I thought, what's important to me? The planet and what's happening right now with climate change, and how can I sort of write a couple of songs that have a little bit more of a, educational and socially conscious theme to them. So that's where It's So Easy Being Green comes in, Bees, Beavers, and Bats, my song about the ocean. And I think there's one more that I'm not remembering now. Oh, I have a social justice song that 2 puppets sing. So with everything that was going on, those 4 are the last songs that I wrote to complete the album. So so that was interesting, because I definitely took it in a more socially and environmentally conscious direction. And I did some, for Bees, Beavers, and Bats, I did some, well, for all of them, I had to do some research. And so it was fun to find out that those animals I knew about bees. I knew that bees were very important for pollination, but I did not know how important, beavers and bats were. I didn't know that bats pollinated all these things like agave and guava and crazy. So
yeah. I have to admit, I learned a few things from your song as well.
Good.
Like you, I was very familiar. Okay, I know how bees help. I know what beavers do. What do bats contribute? So.
Yeah, and the fun video that Elena Fox animated is just perfect. So,
all right. Well, let's play the song. Here is Bees, Beavers, and Bats by Esther Crow.
Cool. Starring, also featuring Lucy Kalantari.
Bees, beavers, and bats all help the environment. Bees, beavers, and bats working hard to do their part. Bees pollination across every nation, and suburbs and cities contribute to biodiversity. Wowee! Woo! Planting a bee-friendly garden with flowers and plants that attract bees around them is something that you can do. It's true. Bees, beavers, and bats improving plant life and air quality. Beaver ponds store carbon, helping to slow down the rising temps warming the globe. Don't you know? Whoa, 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 whoa. Beaver dams encourage tiny invertebrates, perfect for feeding the froggies and fishies both. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bees, beavers, and bats, important creatures with many features. Bats disperse the seeds of a lot of different trees, help new forests grow. Whoa, whoa. Bats do a service by eating up insects that harm agriculture and crops. Give them props. Go bats!
Broccoli, cranberries, apples, and melons depend on the pollen that's transferred from our very helpful bees. Wowee!
These pollinators are most vital players, and not just in gardens, but also in forests and woodlands. The trees like the bees. That's beavers and bees. Beavers make wetlands and improve conditions for many a creature to not only thrive but survive. It's true.
This is one friend to the ecosystem that we should protect, give utmost respect. Hey beaver, high five. That's beavers and bees. Mangoes, bananas, agave, and guavas depend on the pollen that's transferred from our very helpful bats. Imagine that.
They're not to be feared, but to be revered. These earth-friendly nocturnal friends do all that they can. Yeah, yeah. That's beavers and bees. All help the environment. That's beavers and bees. Helping plant life, the air, the trees, the earth, and you and me. We gotta help them out. Yeah.
That was Bees, Beavers, and Bats by Esther Crow, and I hope everybody learned something out there. So Esther, tell everybody where they can stream or download that song and where they can find you on social media.
Cool, thank you. I would love it if you wanted to go directly to my website. And if you do, then you can also get the track, It's So Easy Being Green. It's, and of course, all my other music is on there for both myself and Thunder and Sunshine. It's esthercrow.com. So ESTHERCROW.com. And then I would love it if you wanted to follow me on Spotify. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have already 4 wonderful videos that are out for this album, and I have more coming. And where else? Apple Music, wherever you stream. I'm probably forgetting something. But you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on all of it. So
Very good. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate this and great to meet you.
Take care.